Okay, we're staying within the realms of AI with a session called 50 Shades of AI. Now, creators and artists all over the world are expressing concerns about AI tools and algorithms that rely on pre-existing patterns and ideas, resulting in the creation of products that lack originality and innovation. So from these stemmed the fear of potential impact of AI on the uniqueness and creativity of their work. Now, AI is, it's brilliant at analyzing massive data sets, identifying correlations, but can it ever come close to bringing the unique perspectives that come from just the inexplicable humanness of beings? So this session is going to offer our speakers an opportunity for a rapid 5-minute style TED Talk in which they'll share how this revelation in technology has impacted their sector, followed by audience interaction. So make sure you get those burning questions ready. We will pick on you if no one puts their hand up. So we're going to swap over hosts now. So I'd like to welcome your host for this session to the stage, Vikram Chandra, founder of Editorji.
Hello everyone, and it's absolutely fantastic to be here. Thanks, Manoj. It's been a really wonderful week. For some of you who may have spent a little bit of time in India, you may remember me as a television news anchor, which I was for 25 years of my life. I was a TV news anchor, and then overnight well, not exactly overnight, but almost overnight in 2017, I chucked it all up, and I stopped being a TV news anchor because I decided to set up this company, Editorji, and that was basically because I said, the world is about to change. Sachin was right. AI is not something which has only happened with ChatGPT. AI has been around for a while. And one of the first things that came to my mind is AI is going to disrupt industry after industry. Nothing is going to be the same again. So how is AI transforming the media business? That was the question that came to my mind. And when you look around, there weren't that many people doing it. So I said, all right, let me sit down and start figuring out how AI is going to change the media business. How can we build a company that will take advantage of those particular changes and perhaps help or aid in the disruption in whichever manner is possible. And for those of you who know anything about the media business, especially in India, it needs disruption. It needs a lot of disruption. Television news has been sliding at a rather frightening and a rather dramatic phase, so it needed disruption. And I'll talk about that a little later, later perhaps in this session. Now we're going to do things rather differently in this particular session. Because let's remember one thing, the disruptions that we are seeing right now are not only AI. AI is powering a lot of it, but it's not only AI. The same factors that are leading to the AI revolution, computing power, cloud, whether it is advanced algorithms of many sorts, the ability to use data in meaningful manners, those are transforming industry after industry. It's not just AI, it's happening in biotech, it's happening in healthcare, it's happening in clean tech, it's happening in energy, it's happening on blockchain, across the board. So actually what we are seeing is the world is getting disrupted by a basket of exponential technologies put together. That's going to mean that the world we're living in 2025 will be probably unrecognizable. And almost certainly by the time you get to 2030, you will not be able to recognize the world. So what we're going to do today is looking a little bit at the practical aspects of it. Let's take some case studies. Let's talk to some really exciting people now who are actually doing that. They're using AI, they're using other exponential technologies, they're using data to transform their own industries and their own businesses. And they're doing that in a really, really successful manner. Introductory remarks, I want to end with one thing. The idea which came from saying, I'm going to chuck up my job and I'm going to do this, came actually from an interview I was once doing with Sundar Pichai. And he said, AI is coming, and this is 2016. And 2016, there was no sign of AI coming. So I said, what do you mean AI is coming? There's no AI, okay, it's Google Maps and it's Siri and it's some interesting toys, so that is nothing happening. And he said, and I think that was really a prescient remark for him to make, he said, the AI revolution will come when really bright people in individual industries will figure out how do I use AI to completely change my business. People with domain expertise will use AI and exponential technology to transform their own businesses. And that's when the AI revolution will come, and that's what we're starting to see now. And that's what you're going to hear about in the next couple of minutes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to call up some of these really, really exciting people one by one. There's going to be a clock ticking them down. They have 5 minutes to tell you what they're doing and how they're disrupting their businesses. And these are really fantastic businesses, I can tell you. And then after that, we'll throw some questions and answers at them, which is what all of you are going to come in. So let me start with biotech, right? And Agam Khare, who's here with us, who's the founder of Absolute, I can tell you, Absolute is the sort of absolute amazement which you feel. I went into his office once. It took me 15 minutes to say, my God, the world has changed and never be the same again. Agam, welcome. You got the stage for 5 minutes, and it's going to be a cloud. There's going to be a clock ticking you down. Please, why don't you take a seat? The clock starts now.
So everything to do with AI goes back to the point when Alan Turing started making a Turing machine, which today you call as computers. And Alan Turing had a realization. When he was trying to decrypt a number of messages that were generated by machines, he realized that only a machine can beat a machine because of the sheer power of computing. The machines could have many, many permutations and combinations very quickly, and that was the only way to beat it. Now, what I personally believe is, what if everything that we are talking around AI or our computing power will never be able to beat the amount of complexity that nature presents to us? Let me give you an example. Look at your DNA. If you just expand your DNA, you could go to the moon and come back 1,500 times. That amount of packing. And now moon is near, so you go to the sun and you can come back 4 times. But if you just uncoil your DNA, because it's a helical thing, if you uncoil your DNA, and if you go to the Pluto and come back, you will make 17 trips. That's inside your body. That's DNA. That's the amount of complexity. And if you look at your cells, you have anywhere between 40 trillion to 100 trillion cells in your body. And all of these cells, everything in life competes. But this is the only thing in life that doesn't compete. They all perform together an action as a team. And the moment they start competing against each other, the moment you have cancer. And so all your entire life, all these hundreds of trillions of cells are trying to collaborate with one another through some pre-programmed software, which we or nobody in this entire world today has been able to even comprehend how to build that about. And that, in my real sense, is the real intelligence. I coined that term called natural intelligence, nature's intelligence. So AI is good, but in my view, AI is just a tool to get to NI. It's nature's intelligence. And that nature's intelligence is 4.5 billion years old. Artificial intelligence is less than 100 years old. So to think of something which is billions of years old to be beaten by something which is not even 100 years old, I think, in my sense, will be too much extension of faith. So that's what we believe in, that nature's intelligence is the future. But let me tell you what we are doing with it. So we work in 3 areas: agriculture, healthcare, and biomaterials. So in agriculture, we are using this power of nature. Now today you go to forest, nobody goes to put a single drop of chemical in it, right? Nobody goes to water the plants, and yet the forests grow and they bloom. And so there is some mechanism that nature knows that AI does not know, using which all of these forests and trees and everything is growing. But you look at agriculture, on the other hand, you need somebody to go put in something all the day. Suddenly in the last 100 years, we have started needing chemicals, pesticides, and whatnot. And so what we are trying to do, by understanding how nature intended to build itself, we are going back to the same process and saying, now you have an opportunity to replace all these chemicals, everything that is harmful, with everything that is meaningful, useful, natural, and replace all those chemicals by natural farm inputs. And so that's in agriculture, something that we are doing. Now we use the same data that nature gives back to us to today partner with Government of India to then spread insurance to millions and millions of farmers across the country. And similarly with the Apex Bank in India to build credit scores for farmers. And so those are the outcomes that can happen. But then in the next stream, in biomaterials, we look at the animals and we take a cell from their skin. And then if you can multiply the cell from skin, then you have skin. You have the real skin. If the real skin, then you have real leather. And so and PETA has been always trying to say forever that stop killing animals. Now, if you could just simply use science, nature's intelligence to stop killing animals, I mean, the problem which has existed for many, many years just goes away. And then in the healthcare business, we looked at a problem that the infants used to face, mother's milk. Now, doctor says go drink mother's milk and not the powder milk because it doesn't have HMOs. And we know hundreds of HMOs exist. So how do you then use nature's intelligence to make something which is identical to mother's milk to solve a problem that that will serve humanity, and that's something that we do. So today, milk is one of the components, enzymes are one of the components. We are now in fact making antibiotics using biotransformation. Why eat these chemical drugs? I mean, it's crazy that in today's age we have to do that. And so biology, in my sense, is the future. The first wave of revolution happened when all these scientists came in and laid down the laws of physics. They always existed, but they laid it down, and then we have the world that we have today. And then happened chemistry, the second wave. The third wave is going to be the wave of biology, and it will change the world forever. So in my sense, AI is only a means to get to another, and that's
Wow. One word away from beating it in time. That's absolutely fantastic timing, Agam. But that was the gong that's going to go off after 5 minutes. So, anybody tempted to ask a long question, something worse happens. Something much worse happens. All right, let's turn out, please stay. We're going to get some questions in. Let's now move to health tech, and in particular, the battle against cancer. One of the things where AI and data might well be able to help us. Ashish Tripathi, co-founder, Tzar Labs, thank you so much for joining us. Come.
Thank you so much.
Grab a seat.
Firstly, thank you for this opportunity. And if I can start off by making some bold claims, and because we have already published the data, I can explain to you today how the technology works and how AI is playing a role. So, the bold claims. There are 3 global firsts that we claim. This is the first pan-cancer blood test. It detects all cancers earlier than known technologies because we can detect it when it is PET negative. That's technically stage 0. Not only can we detect it at this stage, we can tell you which cancer and where it is forming straight from a blood test. That's claim 1. Claim 2, this is the first prognostic test for cancer. From a blood test, we can tell you you do not have cancer. Remember, it's an all-cancer test. We can tell you do not have cancer, but more interestingly, we can tell you that you are not at risk of cancer for the next 1 year because we know the pace at which these markers grow, and if you're within a safe zone, we know that the fastest cancer doesn't move from here to a tumor stage in 1 year. You can see the use case of a test like that. It's a blood test all of us will do every year, and we will catch cancer at stage 1 or before when it is infinitely more curable. Claim 3, and this is a big one to understand, very useful for oncologists. We can give you the mutations and dysfunctional pathways that you typically get from a biopsy of the tumor tissue. We can give it to you from a blood sample, not just for the one simple tumor that you're doing a biopsy of. You can do it for all other tumors as well. Now, having said this, let me make clear, we're not magicians, nor are we the smartest people in the world, right? We just got lucky. The reality is that we were a drug company that was working on a cancer drug. While studying the pathways, we realized that it was acting on a small set of stem cells. We realized that there's an epigenetic change happening on the stem cell, which is creating a cancer cell. Then 1 billion cancer cells come together and form a tumor. Once the tumor forms, it sheds its outer layers, which are called CTCs and ctDNA. When it breaks down, ctDNA and cell-free RNA. The entire liquid biopsy space, every company you're aware of, and there have been studies done in NHS as well, have basically been looking for these tumor bits floating in the blood. What's the problem with this method? My body has 5.5 liters of blood. When I take out 5 ml of blood, I take out 0.1% of the total volume of blood. If I see a tumor piece there, I know I have cancer. But if I do not see a tumor piece there, it does not mean I don't have cancer. It means in the small sample of blood that was taken out, there was no tumor piece. Hence, you got a lot of false negatives, right? One of the major studies that was done in NHS shows that at stage 1, you're getting 15% success at stage 1. At stage 4, you're getting 90% success. And as all oncologists have commented after that, we don't need a blood test to confirm cancer at stage 4. We need it at stage 1. At stage 1, the data is inadequate. The beauty of our breakthrough was that our cells of interest start showing up in the blood 12 to 18 months before the tumor even forms. We have already finished a 1,000-patient study. Our NHS trials have started, and early next year, you'll be basically getting results for specific cancers from NHS on this particular piece. Now, what is the application for AI? The reality is the third claim that I made, that we can actually tell you mutations and dysfunctional pathways. Anyone who's a doctor out here will understand the implication. If you know what the mutations and pathways are, it dictates what is the medication or the therapeutics that is right for that particular patient. It's effectively personalized medicine, right? So, what we can do, and we do it through a blood draw, right? We can effectively give you what would be the right therapeutics, but more importantly, we can even tell you when you're giving a therapeutic platform to a patient, we can actually see if the mutation is going away and a new mutation is on the rise just from a blood test, right? The challenge, however, is that when we do a blood draw, we collect 6.2 GB of data. Now, one way to understand how this technology is working is that we have effectively found the cells that are building into the tumor cells, and by isolating it in the blood, fragmenting it, doing a sequencing, we do not need to actually get the tissue, right? We can effectively give you the results straight from a blood draw. Now, the implication of that is that you can do this very often, 15-20 days, and you can actually see whether that mutation is gone and a new mutation is on the rise. That is the implication of the breakthrough that we have made. But that said, this kind of data analysis is not possible with a number of bioinformatics. What we are trying to build is an AI platform so that we can automate this data, so that literally we will be able to load it on an NGS sequencing machine. The data comes out, the analytics gets done, and you will get the results then and there. That's essentially how we are using
Great. Managed to just in time. Absolutely fantastic. I'm going to throw it open to questions.
Are these guys open for funding or what?
Yeah, okay. Fine, open for funding. Who's bidding $1 billion for either of them? Can we start with $1 billion? A little bit more? Who's open for funding?
You don't want the blood test, you want the funding.
You can talk after this. Right? I'll allow you to talk after this. Okay, questions. And by the way, really short questions. In this case, there's no gong. The light falls on you. Sure. All right.
Hi, first speaker. Hello, this is better. My name is Sunil Hirnandani. I run a matchmaking platform that's not algorithmic and strictly offline. So I can't say I'm a naysayer or a skeptic, but I'm yet to come on board the bandwagon. For our first speaker, I had a quick question. You talked about artificial sort of, stop killing animals and, growing leather in a synthetic way and stuff like that. How do you combat the psyche of scarcity for the human mind, right? So you can have meatless, you have synthetic meat today, or you have lab-grown diamonds, or in this case, synthetic leather. But the adoption has been poor. So the technology is not in question, but the idea of scarcity and value has an inverse correlation with what's available, in society. So, do you have any views on that?
It's a good question.
Good question. So, I think the first principle is economics is always greater than genomics. So, if the price point at which the science can build something is similar to what the price point world is ready to pay, then the technology get commercialized in the first place. Otherwise, it's very tough to change the worldview of people. The second thing, the scarcity problem. It's always a problem. So even today, companies would approach and say that we want to control the amount of leather that will be produced by this technology, right? And so therefore control the pricing. Now that's a call, that's a business call, how you want to run the business. But what I think is many companies will eventually arrive at these ways of thinking, and the way cells think and the way cells compute. One of the practical applications that Ashish was just talking about, that way of thinking will become far more profound than our current ways of computation, and that cellular way of computation is far more profound maybe than the artificially synthetic PCB based computations.
Thank you.
Right. At the back there, yeah.
For the second speaker, stem cells aren't legal in India, so how do you operate there?
Sorry, say that again.
Stem cells aren't legal in India, so how do you operate there? And for the first speaker, is formal bioeducation needed, or can I just learn on the job? For example, if I want to work in this industry, if I'm already familiar with CS and AI.
Stem cell therapeutics is not, so when you are actually injecting stem cells back into a person's body for therapeutic reasons, that has certain limitations. If I'm doing a blood draw and doing diagnostics using stem cells, that's not prohibited. It's just a blood draw.
You still need training and education, or will AI sort that part out?
So a lot of things will of course get sorted by these modeling algorithms, etc. But of course, I think the only thing you need is the right aptitude to solve problems. And then whatever you do, it doesn't matter what you studied, what you did. It just takes, I think, to anybody in today's time, 2 to 3 years to master anything.
Right. Question here? Yeah, and then the lady.
I'll just go ahead.
Yeah.
So I myself, I'm doing a startup in chemistry, reaction optimization. I'm doing a PhD in drug synthesis. But
Okay, the mic is not that far away from you, just the second part, yeah.
So I'll first ask a question to the first speaker. And you mentioned that how natural intelligence is what we want to get through AI. But nature just took the path which was most efficient, it thought. I'll give you an example. If you take giraffe, it has an artery which goes all the way, rounds up the back. That's not the best path. The best path is the direct path. Do you think that's what AI should be used for, or it should be used to come up with the best optimized path?
Okay.
Good question. So, see, to your question,
Yeah.
okay.
No, sir, carry on,
Okay.
carry on.
So, to your question, did nature not choose the best possible way, or is the way that you're suggesting, is that the best way? I will question that. Right?
I think the way I'm suggesting is the best. It's just
That's what you think.
it's
That's called
just-
artificial
it's just
intelligence.
Because we know that through evolution, that's not the best way.
Okay.
Right?
Because we don't understand evolution enough to comment that.
Okay. Well, I'll go to the second speaker now. A quick question.
That light is teetering.
I'm so sorry about that. So you mentioned that there are markers which you know. What about the markers which you still don't know, which can cause cancer? So is there ongoing research in the company which is going on to keep looking for those?
Answer is yes. The reality is that when we are talking about all organ biopsy, to be able to give you pathways, mutations data, that's actually looking at a lot more other signals. The beauty of the simplicity of what we found was we found a marker on these stem cells that is a signal that these stem cells are going to grow into cancer stem cells. Now the point is that all we need to look at is the load of the cancer stem cells to the healthy pluripotent stem cells. And that ratio tells us where you sit. The cancer is absent, cancer is forming, cancer is present, right? We can do all that from just the analysis of those cells.
All right, can you just pass the mic to the lady there? All right, I'd asked her just in time, yeah. You can ask.
Hi, I'm Vrinda. I just want to touch upon for your business. You mentioned your algorithm or your program kind of trying to suggest medicines for whatever they find in the blood, etc. as well. Have you tested adoption with doctors and all that? I would just want to touch upon that. I work in financial services and M&A, and there's lots of questions about adoption by our collection agents or adoption by lawyers of AI technologies available to them.
So the truth is that the beauty of what we have discovered is that there are multiple ways of monetization, right? But the reality is that you don't have to actually go after them in one go. Right now, if you can just show that you can screen for cancer, that has a massive use case. 2, if you can give mutation data, that is something that doctors want. But I can tell you that the reason the pharma companies are interested is because they're looking at the mutation signals that we're getting and comparing it with the mutation signals that you're getting from the tissues, and if they can see enough of a match, right, then the way they are thinking of using this technology is that this is companion diagnostics. Please understand that statins, right, it is, if anyone's from pharma, that was one of the most profitable products, right, because it made tens of billions per year for decades, right? Why did it become so big? Because there was a lipid test. The doctor could tell you, go do a lipid test. If your good cholesterol is low, bad cholesterol is high, have statins, right? And the reality is 3 months later, the patient tested it and go, oh, my lipid is looking better. The doctor was happy, the patient was happy. The logic was that you wouldn't get heart attacks, right? And all the Indians were screaming around saying, but our grandparents told us ghee is good for health, right? Now, after 20 years, FDA comes back and says, maybe we got it wrong. Who cares? The pharma company made lots of money out of it, right? The reality of what we are doing is that we are creating a marker that can be analyzed non-invasively. Now, that has benefits for the pharma industry, right? Because it's companion diagnostics.
All right,
As to what the process will be, we will see. It's just one of the use cases.
All right, we are, as you heard from the gong, out of time for this question and answer session. So let me now welcome our next speaker. I did say there were a basket of technologies that were growing at an exponential rate. Well, blockchain, another one of them. Blockchain has sometimes unfairly been entirely equated with cryptocurrencies, which is probably not a fair thing to happen to blockchain because cryptocurrencies are their own issues, if I can put it that way. So joining us now, Ajeet Khurana, founder of Reflexical. Thanks so much for being with us. And hi, please.
So
you can grab a seat.
I will stand and talk.
Oh yeah, stand and talk. Fair enough.
So the reason I won't stand and talk, and I assume my mic is working, is that I prepared 33 years to give the talk I'm about to give you now. And that sounds like an exaggeration or a joke. In June of 1990, as a student who had just completed the third year of computer engineering, I moved to the fourth year, and thereby becoming the very first batch in India where artificial intelligence was offered as a full subject for the computer engineers. Prior to that, you touch upon it in some subjects. This was a full subject, and at that point of time, deep learning, machine learning was not what we were talking about. We were talking about neural networks and parallel computing. But interestingly, we were told in June of 1990 that because there's AI, we will never get jobs. Jobs are over beginning June 1990, and machines will do everything. 33 years later, we are now talking about this something similar at this conference. AI as a model, as a technology, as an architecture, actually today is being limited and heavily influenced by our attitude. For instance, one of the earliest remarkable things we heard about AI was in driverless cars, right? Now, interestingly, the first time somebody told me that there's going to be a car that is driverless, I'm like, so how does it run? And then when they explained it to me, I said, so you are saying that there is an extremely powerful driver, a computer, who is not driven by emotion, does not get sleepy, did not fight with their wife before they started driving. Ladies and gentlemen, shout out to my wife Simran there. So I'm like, this is not a driverless car. That car didn't have a driver, so a human had to drive it. This is the way the car should be. What I'm getting at is that because we may have some understanding of, let us say, an LLM. So you go to ChatGPT and say, tell me a joke. And then you say, haha, this is what AI does. AI is far more than that. I'll give you an example. Given that ChatGPT is not AI, as in so one application of it, but I'm working with two kids. I'm their advisor. They are in their teens, late teens. They are running a startup called Second Brain. So what this startup does is that if, for instance, you are a customer of Zerodha, where Nitin Kamath is the founder, or you are a customer of Oyo Rooms, where Ritesh Agarwal is the founder, and you need help, instead of going to customer service or a chatbot, could you directly talk to the founder? So they create a Second Brain, and you'll be surprised, the startup is less than 3 months old. Within 2 weeks of starting, they were in revenue, which is not something that can happen very easily. And now that they are approaching 3 months, they are already making, their total revenue is 6 figures in dollars. So that's more than 100K. This would not have happened if there was no AI, and more importantly, this would not have happened if it was not so easy to build on the foundational models, the fundamental models that are already in place. As some of you may guess, I'm very nervous because of that sound that we are going to hear in 2 minutes. It's almost as if you're being shot with a cannonball. It's not a gong. Having said that, let me tell you something interesting. My work is far more in Web 3, the decentralized web, which started roughly 15 years ago with the creation of Bitcoin. It was the first successful implementation of a decentralized web. And despite the fact that even I agree that, probably 99% of what you have seen in the blockchain / crypto space is a little unsavory, and we still are not seeing very solid applications. But when you have moved beyond Web 1, which was broadcast only, Web 2, which was interaction, and Web 3, which is decentralized, which means the central control goes away. Now you combine that with the power of AI. That means AI is now, so AI requires connectivity. You have to communicate. You need the internet. But this internet is very centrally controlled, as a lot of you may know. If you decentralize that control and you have these autonomous creatures, robots, autonomous brains, which is AI, that is where you will see the real power of AI. I'm going to just end by saying that often we hear things like, machines can generate, analyze data, but they can't really do something original. If you had to say, to be or not to be, it requires a William Shakespeare. Not necessarily, that's our arrogance. In reality, it is a little like, one of the top 5 Hindi movies of all times, Amar Akbar Anthony, where Amitabh Bachchan is this roadside ruffian, and Vinod Khanna, that is Amar, is the policeman who goes and beats up Anthony, puts him behind bars, and Anthony is sitting there behind bars saying that this guy beat me a lot, but I also beat him at least once, right? Apun ne bhi ek solid mara, that was the Hindi word for it. That is really what human beings are saying today. And if indeed tomorrow computers would indeed become really arrogant with their AI, they would have achieved their true human potential. Thank you.
Wow, you beat it just in time. I really want to know where that gong was in all the years when I was on TV. I can't tell you how much simpler it would have made my life. All those people I kept on trying to interrupt, saying, will you be quiet? Down to a second. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Thank you so much very much. All right, I'm going to get one more speaker on, and then we'll throw it open up to Q&A once again. Rajat, Dhawan is with us, CTO of Soho House, talking about AI and data and personalization in leisure and hospitality.
Amazing, thank you. I'm going to start the cue from you on Amar Akbar Anthony. Because Amar Akbar and Anthony are 3 different people. Often what happens is that from a business perspective, be it in retail, hospitality and travel, we treat all of them the same. Everyone gets the same email, everyone sees the same booking experience, and are treated exactly the same when you stay in a hotel. Which is obviously not right, because all these people have very different personalities that change over a period of time. So from my perspective, whilst I do have a background in AI, I did a PhD at the intersection of psychology and how mental models change when someone's presented with an outcome from AI. And since then, I've implemented AI techniques and technologies across Fortune 500. I'm actually leveraging everything that you guys are doing, because I'm a user and implementer of AI rather than creator of it. And from my perspective, it's about practical implications of that, and also balancing that with the trust and ethics argument that comes with it. Our business is called Soho House. Many people have heard, and those who haven't is like, what the hell do you do? So a bit of explanation of that. We are a luxury lifestyle business which is listed on NYSE. We are medium sized, 1.2 billion in revenue, and we are kind of most popularly known for our private members clubs. But in addition to that, we also have multiple other businesses, such as hotels, spa business, retail, co-working spaces, events and cinemas. And everyone who uses our facilities typically is a member, i.e. We are very fortunate that everyone who uses us digitally or physically, we know them. And therefore we have vast amounts of data of them, and they use it quite frequently. So we actually have rich data, and our churn is only 5%. So members who are with us have been with us for a very long time. They are happy to part with their data to us, because there is a trust equation over there. And we are one of those brands which are very well known, and where people come in and say, you know what, I'm in a trusted space, both physically and digitally. So in that sense, super fortunate to actually have an audience that is wanting to use their data and personalize their experience. The flip side of that obviously is accountability and things like keeping their data private, because a lot of this is sensitive information, making sure it's secure because of everything that's happening around us, and having accountability of who's using this data and for what. And obviously, whilst we are a business, and using these things from a business outcome perspective is only one aspect of it, the North Star for us is actually member experience. How could we make member experience better, simpler, more convenient, and most importantly, more relevant? Because when experience is relevant, when Amar, Akbar and Anthony are treated exactly as for who they are, for their uniqueness, that is where there is magic. When people feel that I resonate with this brand, what they tell us or tell me is actually relevant to my needs, and they also know how my needs are changing, be it my travel needs, family needs, my preferences, interests, and all of those things. So that's the space that we are playing in. One of the things that we've done in the recent past, last 18 months, is essentially develop machine learning models that is proprietary to us and is matching members to things that we have. And those things, to start with, are members being matched to other members. If you think about Soho House, it is essentially a community where like-minded people come together and form relationships, be it socially or professionally. And whilst we were small, one Soho House 28 years ago versus 40 that we have today. Originally, it was easy to do that because people bumped into each other, and it was a very high-touch business. But as we scaling that experience without technology obviously is a lot more different. So what we're doing is we're using these algorithms to match members with other members internationally, so that members can connect to each other quickly and globally, right? And those are forming relationships that we've never seen before. So it's like having, a relationship within a very trusted environment with a brand that you trust and members that you trust. And that's kind of our first foray into this. We're now extending that algorithm to match members to content, to communication, to events, to bedrooms, and to their travel preferences. And collectively, what this is getting to is, having a membership experience things in a way that is a lot more relevant to them, even though we scale a lot better. So that's kind of where we are in terms of the experience. I think we're getting close, and I think I'm going to be on time as well, and I'm going to beat you maybe by 3 seconds.
You want to hear the comment? He's delaying you.
Yeah. So overall, it's been a great journey for us, but the balance between creating that experience and ethics around this is super important for us. Thank you.
All right. We didn't get the gun.
5 seconds.
Right. Before I throw it open a question, I might as well, quickly dive in a little bit into AI in sort of the media business in one area. I think it's worth talking about it because when you're talking about the ill effects of AI, you've heard about a lot of the fantastic stuff that you can do with data and AI and personalization, from agriculture to healthcare to personalization when it comes to that. But you don't necessarily need Terminators or dark Skynet or any of that to see some of the ill effects of AI, because you're starting to see that, for example, in areas like the media. What's happening? The fact that the algorithms are as good as they are, the fact that they're able to personalize for you, means all of us are increasingly being locked into echo chambers. We're not agreeing anymore. In the era of mass media, when people used to be broadcasting down, there used to be a certain version of the truth, and this is what has happened, and then you could agree to, do you agree with it or do you disagree with it? But now the algorithms have become so good that you don't even agree on what the facts are. You ask a Trump supporter or ask a Biden supporter what happened in the elections, the basic fundamental reality also is not being accepted. And as AI becomes better, and as the algorithms become better, that personalization becomes even better and better and better. When I set up Editor-G and we started off saying, all right, let's build some nice algorithms so we can personalize content for all of our users, it was scarily good. It was so good that the perfect stories would come up, you'd watch the news, you'd like everything, it was so engaging. Our traffic numbers would have gone up through the roof, we'd have made billions of dollars, well, maybe not billions, but millions, and life would have been good. But the one space where you don't want perfect personalization is news and information. Because news and information by definition means finding out about a bunch of stuff that you have no idea about. That your clicking pattern does not never told you that you should watch this story, but you should watch it. Serendipity is important, finding out other things are important. And I don't know what the clear answer is. We've tried to find ways around curation at Editor-G. We've just got a patent in America on how some of it can be done. But the curation of information is probably going to be one of those areas where it is not crystal clear how will we do it. How do we match the engagement, the buzz, the dopamine hit to your brain when a story is coming up or a piece of news is coming up or a view is coming up disguised as news, which happens all the time these days, and that's giving you a dopamine rush in your brain because you're saying, oh, I like that guy, he's saying exactly what I've always believed. How do you contrast that from the fact saying, no, but you need to know a little bit more about the world? You may have, what happens in most of these algorithms, if you do something like TikTok and TikTok News, which is where it started from, if you once click on a traffic accident, it'll keep on showing you traffic accidents. But you don't want your news and information to be traffic accidents because you once clicked upon it. You want to be informed about the world. And that, I think, is a major challenge. And that's one of the areas where there's no clear solution, which is coming forward. Eventually, methods will have to be found, whether it is AI doing better curation, whether it is experts using the AI and the algorithms to do that curation for them, or whether it is the solution will come in some sort of Web 3.2, where I don't believe in citizen journalism. I don't think everyone should run around with a camera and say, this is the news that is sometimes best reported by journalists, but everybody can help in curating the correct news stories from others. That also gives a certain amount of fact to it. It also removes news from views, fact from opinion. That's going to be a really major challenge, and this is one potential area where I don't think AI is playing a positive role. Not right now anyway. All right, that having been said, and hey, I beat that I think by a fairly substantial margin. So now throwing you open up to questions to the others who are here. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, outstanding discussion and format, so thank you. Maybe just you can pick whichever one you want to answer. So just three things that maybe I worry about or think about. One is deepfake. How do you combat that? Secondly, how important are proprietary data sets around AI? Maybe just I'll ask about those two.
Who wants to go?
Can I just go with the second one?
Yeah.
So, having been in computers since the late 80s, we used to have this slogan saying that computers don't do what you want them to do, they do what you tell them to do. And AI has actually reversed that. Computers actually do what you want them to do. Whether we are talking of proprietary data sets running on top of editorial content, what is happening is, suppose we remove all intelligence, customization and personalization and present people 10 choices. Where would you like to go? Assuming the data is non-proprietary. You would anyway choose what AI thinks it wants to choose for you. So actually the computers are doing exactly what we would have done had there been no intelligence. They are making it easier for us. The difference between one AI company and another AI company and which one would win commercially speaking, I think in the future, and the future is as close as 5 years from now, will depend on proprietary data sets. For example, if you took like a Quora and you took a Twitter and you took a Reddit and said that they will license all their information out only to Bard but not to ChatGPT and prohibit ChatGPT from working, ChatGPT would become worthless compared to Bard. So once again, data is the new oil becomes true.
On the point of deep fakes, I think you're completely right. I think it is another one of those things where misinformation can now be run at an industrial scale, and that's what's going to happen. Next 2 years or 3 years, you're going to see at least one election somewhere that will be swung on the basis of some fake piece of information or a deep fake, or somebody is saying something which will be released on the morning of the election before anybody can do anything about it. It's going to happen. I don't know what the solution is. Yeah, gentleman there.
Hi, I'm Yusuf Jazakalla, CEO and founder of Recruitment Smart, which does generative AI for talent intelligence. So my question is for the second speaker, Mr. Ashish. I think amazing talks, from all the speakers. But I have two questions, very quick questions for you. The first one is that when I heard the word bold claims, the first thought that came in my mind was Theranos. So I wanted to ask you that because of that incident, are you facing any challenges and in terms of your vision and what you're trying to do? So that's the first question. And the second question is that given that you're developing amazing technologies to do diagnostics on cancer, but I think cancer preventative measures are the best kind of cure for cancer. So are you doing any research on that or any approaches on that? So yeah, thank you.
So answer is yes. So by the way, Theranos was a boon and a bane, right, for this industry, because watch my interview. I spoke on Fox Business News about 3.5 weeks back, and I was also in a podcast on Fox Radio. The reality is that Theranos never published, right? We have actually published the entire science, right? We have the articles have been tweeted by Harvard professors, NHS professors, University of Paris professors, and like I said, we explained why we found this, right? The issue was that the claims were so big, right, that a lot of people actually assumed that this was impossible, and that's actually worked in our favor, because if to be very honest with you, for any of you guys who are startups, we would probably have sold this company 2 years back or 3 years back, right? Because if we were a US company or a UK company, the ecosystem would have come to us and we would have sold. Today, of course, we won't, because we understand the value of what we built, right? But what worked for us was the fact that because of Theranos, a lot of people kept doubting, right, whether it was true or not true. And that allowed us a little more time to do more research and truly understand the impact of what we had found.
All right, we have time for another question or two. We were combining those two. Okay, the lady there. I'm going to, before a gong falls on me, I'll quickly get another question or two.
So we talked about the importance of AI today. It's a general question for whoever is keen to take it or is able to take it. AI is perceived as a co-pilot at the moment, as an entity that will assist us. My question is, what does everyone think about the potential? I mean, humans will need to keep up with AI and be able to manipulate AI. So what does everyone think of the potential of technology such as Neuralink, which will seek to enhance the human brain?
Who wants to have a shot? Rajat, you want to take it?
Yeah, well, I'll take the first half of the question, which is about assisting versus not. I think up till generative AI, my own thinking always was it's kind of a co-pilot model. But since generative AI and the accessibility and affordability of that, my own thinking is changing quite a bit. And I'm very actively starting to think about the kind of nature of jobs that will completely go away. And that wouldn't be co-pilot mode, that would actually be a full self-driving mode. And we've got to keep a balance of that from an ethical perspective and general job displacement perspective as well. So I think a space to watch, because it's moving really fast now.
All right, I think we are done for time. Thank you all so much for having been with us. It's a really interesting session.